bulls begin to lose hope that the big bust will ever come, are the baby bears right? Or will the baby bulls bust so big that the bears will have no other option than to sell their feet pics online just to get by? Right now, the price of Bitcoin, surprise, surprise, sits at about 29,000 US dollars after trading for what seems like 1,000 lifetimes at 29,000 US dollars. The baby bulls are beginning to lose the faith. The baby bears are still living with their parents. And the biggest bust of all time inches closer than you might ever expect. And it's easy to see why the tides have shifted in terms of sentiment a little bit over the past couple of months, because since June, we're actually exactly basically a month, we're exactly at the same price we were about 2 months ago. Sitting right at the high that we set back all the way at the beginning of April of 2023, revisiting that same level. Now, this absolutely is par for the course. This is exactly where, if you look historically, this is exactly where we should be, right? Price should not be doing that much right now based on history. This is literally reminiscent of 2019 to me. 2019 was basically the same thing. We had a little bit of a dump towards kind of the end of the year as we had kind of a pump right exactly in the middle of 2019. But ultimately, I mean, very similar to now. Ultimately, though, it was a down year other than the summer pump, basically. 2018 and 2019 were not good years for crypto. 2022 and 2023 are not going to end up being good years for crypto, in my opinion. Even though so far, if we really look at what Bitcoin has done in 2023, it is up almost 100%. It's only gone up. Right here, we already know this. This is the beginning of 2023, right here. And if you look at this chart, we've gone up. Altcoins have not, though. Altcoins have suffered a lot, and a lot of people invested in the market at this point, and the Bitcoin dominance chart will also verify this, are invested in altcoins. So a lot of people are not trying to make a lot of money with Bitcoin. A lot of the people that are making money with Bitcoin are people that have been in crypto for years. But for the people that have entered over the last 2 to 3 years, people are looking to altcoins to make the most gains. And if you're invested in altcoins, 2023 has not been a good year for you overall. 2022 was not a good year for you either. So it makes sense that people are getting a little heated, or should I say bored and pessimistic about the market. Even though Bitcoin's up 100%, altcoins are not really doing well. And we can it's very, we don't have to do a lot of research to see that altcoins are not performing that well right now. I want to continue with the charts, but let's first take a look at this. So today, Coinbase was approved to offer Bitcoin futures trading in the US. Okay, not huge news. Again, the big news is the Bitcoin spot ETF, which, as of today, Fundstrat's Tom Lee said on CNBC, the Bitcoin spot ETF, if it gets approved, clearing price of Bitcoin shoots up to nearly $200,000, between $150,000 and $180,000 US dollars. And he also says in this interview, whether or not a Bitcoin spot ETF gets approved, the clearing price of Bitcoin will jump because of the supply halving. Anyway, just not up to 6 figures. So, and I agree with that. I think I think that we're going to at least hit all-time highs after this next halving for Bitcoin easily. But if a Bitcoin spot ETF gets approved, then we can start looking at some crazy figures. In fact, I believe Tom Lee has forecasted way higher numbers for Bitcoin price even like 4 years ago in the last bull market. So him saying 150 to 180,000 for him is like very pessimistic. That's like a very low target based on what he specifically has said in the past. So maybe he's being a little more cautious with his price predictions. Maybe he is, a bigger investor or bigger believer in altcoins because percentage-wise they will go up a lot more than Bitcoin. We've seen Bitcoin diminishing pumps every single cycle. But ultimately, looking at Bitcoin's daily chart, there are a few things definitely to go over. So we're now below this key moving average, the 21-day moving average, which we were holding for the past week or so. We're now below that. Okay. So that gives us potentially that opportunity to go to the level that we've been kind of waiting and watching for. But more so, this trend line sits at Bitcoin's current price only sits right around almost 29,000 US dollars, a little bit below 29,000 is where you would absolutely want it to find support. Otherwise, this could get kind of nasty. Where if if Bitcoin doesn't really find support on this trend line, we're breaking the trend line of the past 8 months. So we could absolutely go a little bit lower, and that's absolutely a realistic possibility right now. If we take a look at a longer term chart for Bitcoin, guys, the chart I start off the video with here, we have this gigantic moving average, right? Currently, it's about 23,000 US dollars. Now, as I've been saying for weeks, specifically, I was talking about it a lot at the beginning of the month and a couple of weeks ago. Going down to 23,000, I think, is like the ultimate worst case scenario pullback for Bitcoin that is still in a bullish longer term structure. Whereas if we break 23,000, if we go below that, then I think I would absolutely think, okay, maybe this isn't going to go the way I think it is. Maybe this is going to be bearish for a lot longer. But as I just said, 23,000, if we would come back to that level and hold that, that could still end up ultimately being bullish on a month-to-month time frame. Now, it's still way too early to say, I'm not just outright saying, hey, we're going to 23,000. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is there is still absolutely on a macro chart a lot of technical evidence to suggest 23,000 would be a really good pullback area. It is also kind of where we topped out back in August of 2022 and February of 2023. If we, like this area right here, that is not, let me make that line a little better. This area right here. So if we came back down here, this would catch a lot of people off guard because it could technically set a little bit of a lower low, lower than the mid-June low. But ultimately, I mean, we've seen structures like that as we exit a bear market and head into a bull market many times, right? For example, here we had this low back in 2019, as I was just saying. And then we dumped way below that. We went from 7,000, and then we took out that low and went all the way down to 4,000, right? Absolutely cataclysmic. And then we ultimately went up and entered a very strong bull market. So, I mean, that's literally a perfect example of this. I think we would have gotten some sort of correction even without the crash in March of 2020 because of the pandemic, but I specifically think it went way lower than it would have because the stock market obviously crashed and everything. But here we had this low, and then we had a higher low. And then a lot of people were thinking, okay, here we go. This is going to be the bust. And then a complete takeout of that and like dropped drastically below there. So, if we look at now and we say, okay, let's say this is the ultimate low. Say we have a higher low here or even like this one here. And let's say we go down, even break one of these or just come back to this, this moving average. That is not awful for the price. But I will go out on a limb and say if we would go below 20K again, that's not good. So I don't know how to make it more clear than that. Now, with that being said, we have the Bollinger Bands, again, as tight as they've ever been. And on the macro, still a beautiful setup here. But all I'm saying is that these next few months are very, very uncertain. I'm very confident of the next 6 to 12 months where I think we'll be. But these next few months are so shaky, in my opinion. If we look back at history, after we set a bottom, in these bear market to bull market transitions, it has never just been straight up. It has always been a mix of sideways and some dumping with a little bit of pumping as well. But it's just, these are very uncertain times specifically now. I'm not concerned because I have a very good idea of where I believe the price will be in the next, 6 to 12 months, as I just said. But myself and nobody can tell you exactly what is going to be happening in the very, very short term. It's very hard to look at. And as I just said, 23,000, more evidence of just massive support if we would have to get pushed down here. I don't think we will. I'm not necessarily convinced, however, either that this structure will be holding in the short term. And as I say that, I do want to highlight again, I don't really care that much what happens in the next few weeks or months. I think that if you've been in this bear market for like the past 2 years, then the next 6 to 12 months will be amazing opportunity for you. But as I just said, that's 6 to 12 months away. In the very short term, it's very uncertain. And we have lost some bullish structure on these shorter term charts. So all I'm saying is, in the short term, as of today, as of this minute, because price changes all the time, as of this minute, it looks like we could see a bigger move to the downside. And pretty much to sum up the entire point of that, is that if we hold 23,000 in a big dump event, that's very bullish to me. And I'll say, okay, that's very bullish. People watching, you can understand that. What would be bearish? Okay, if we don't hold 23,000, that would be very bearish in my opinion. So I made it very cut and dry. I just gave you number that above it, good, below it, bad. I really don't have anything else to say with price in regard to that. And take advantage of massive sign up and deposit bonuses if you're interested in trading with Femex and BitGet using my link below. Absolutely massive. And if you trade anything when you sign up with my Femex link below, which takes 30 seconds, you also earn free XPT as well. Without further ado,